Ever get that feeling like you're your own worst enemy?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It's like someone's holding you back even when you're trying your hardest.
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling.
Well, today we are diving deep into a pretty interesting topic. It's all about this thing called the shadow self,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll try to figure out what's really going on.
Okay, great.
So, to help us with this deep dive, we're looking at understanding and transforming your shadow.
Yes, that's a good one. That term shadow, it was really Carl Jung who made it popular.
Right.
It's basically like all the parts of ourselves, the fears, the insecurities, even maybe some anger, the stuff we just don't really want to deal with, so we just kind of shove it all under the rug.
Okay, so this isn't like a literal shadow following us around,
No, no.
more like a hidden part of our personality.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
So, we all have a shadow then.
We do. It's totally natural.
Okay.
Think about it this way. When we're growing up,
Uh huh.
we learn what's okay to show people, like what's acceptable, right? And then, well, there are those other parts we learn to keep hidden,
Right,
and those are the parts that make up the shadow.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But how does this shadow actually impact us in our lives? Because the book makes it sound kind of serious.
It is.
Like it can really hold us back from doing the things we want to do.
It can, definitely.
So how does that work?
Well, let's say, for example, you really want a promotion at work,
Okay.
but you just keep finding reasons to not apply.
Procrastinating.
Exactly. That procrastination could be your shadow.
Oh.
It's like your shadow is afraid of you succeeding.
Hmm.
Or maybe deep down, you just don't think you're actually good enough for the job.
Whoa. So it's
Yeah.
more than just, being a little shy or feeling kind of insecure.
It's deeper than that.
So this shadow can sabotage us without us even realizing it.
Exactly.
Wow.
And it can affect other parts of our lives too, not just our careers.
But like what?
Remember that time, completely out of nowhere, you and your partner had that big fight? That could be your shadow acting up.
Really?
Yeah, it can come out as jealousy or possessiveness.
Oh.
Those are just some ways insecurities can bubble up to the surface.
This is hitting a little close to home.
Uh-huh.
But I can see how, maybe some unresolved stuff from the past
Yeah.
or even, like traumas or things like that.
Yeah, definitely. All those things can feed into this shadow. Those experiences, they don't just go away.
They stick with us.
Yeah, they become a part of us, part of our shadow.
Oh.
And then they can influence how we react to things in the present. I mean,
Oh, wow.
it's almost like our shadow is trying to protect us in a way.
Okay.
But unfortunately, those ways are usually not very helpful.
They can actually hurt us more.
Right.
So we're talking about like suppressed emotions.
Yeah.
We push them down, but then they come out in other ways.
Uh-huh. Often in ways we don't want.
Yeah.
Think about it. Anxiety that just appears out of nowhere, or
Yeah.
always procrastinating, or even physical things like, headaches or always having problems with your stomach.
Right. Our minds and bodies are so connected.
They really are.
Okay. This is starting to make more sense now.
Good.
It's like it's not that we're messed up or anything.
No, not at all.
It's this shadow side that's actually been in control
Exactly.
without us realizing it.
It can really feel that way sometimes.
But the book doesn't make it sound like it's all hopeless, right?
No, not at all.
It talks about like how to work with the shadow.
It does.
So what does that mean?
That's where it gets really interesting. Instead of thinking of our shadow as this, enemy,
Right.
we can actually try to understand it
Hmm.
and make it part of us, like integrate it.
Okay.
That's where things start to change, where the real growth happens and the real healing happens.
Wait, so integrate our shadow.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds kind of intense.
It can.
Maybe even a little scary.
Yeah, I get that.
So where do we even begin?
Well, it might sound like a lot, but it's not like we're trying to be best friends with the worst parts of ourselves.
Uh-huh.
No. The first step is just noticing it, just becoming aware.
Noticing those times when we're triggered.
Yeah,
Or maybe like, oh, I keep doing the same thing over and over again. Those kinds of patterns.
exactly. And keeping a journal can be really helpful for that.
Oh, interesting.
Just start keeping track of how you feel.
Hmm.
What situations make you feel certain ways.
Right.
Write down the thoughts that just, pop in your head.
So that will help us see those shadow moments.
Yes. When it's really the shadow that's controlling what we do.
Okay, so then what?
Well,
Once we've realized our shadow's there, how do we actually integrate it?
that's a great question, and it's a big one.
Yeah.
That's exactly where we'll pick up next time in part 2 of this deep dive.
Okay.
But I'll leave you with this thought.
Okay.
Imagine if you could use your shadow's energy
Hmm.
and turn it into something good.
instead of being afraid of it.
Exactly. You could turn it into a source of strength, even insight.
That's a powerful thought.
It is. It really is.
And I am ready to learn how to do that.
I hear ya.
But for now, listeners, think about those patterns in your own lives.
Yeah.
What is your shadow trying to tell you? We'll be back soon to explore how to turn those shadows into something that helps us.
Looking forward to it.
See you next time.
Right.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the shadow self. Last time, we were talking about how to actually integrate our shadow once we realize it's there.
Right.
And it feels a little bit like, we opened up this Pandora's box.
Yeah.
And now we got to deal with all this stuff.
It can feel that way.
All this messy stuff.
It's a great analogy, though. It can feel really overwhelming at first,
Yeah.
but we have to remember, we're not trying to get rid of our shadow completely.
Okay.
We're just trying to figure it out
Right.
and use it to help us.
So less about getting rid of the darkness.
Yeah.
More about shining a light on it.
Yeah. Exactly. And you wouldn't walk into a dark room without turning on the lights, right?
Right.
You don't want to approach your shadow without some self-compassion.
Okay, that makes sense.
But
But I'm still a little stuck on how to, integrate it. It's not like I can just ask it to hang out and then we're all good.
haha, not quite.
So what do we do?
You're right. It's definitely a process.
Okay.
It takes time,
Right.
but the book has some good advice.
Okay, like what?
Well, it talks about how it's really important to look at any trauma from our past
Okay.
because those things can feed into our shadow.
So it's not enough to just notice the patterns.
Right.
We need to know where they came from.
Exactly. All of our experiences, especially the bad ones, they leave a mark on us. And if we don't deal with those traumas,
They can control us.
in a way, yeah,
Wow.
it can control our thoughts and how we feel, even how we act.
Without us even knowing it.
Right?
So maybe it's a good idea to, talk to a therapist.
That can definitely help.
Yeah, because this feels like maybe a lot to do on my own.
A therapist can help create a space for you,
Okay.
a safe space where you can talk about the tough stuff.
Yeah.
They can help you figure out how to deal with those things in a healthy way.
And they can help you heal.
Exact.
I bet that's especially important if, maybe the trauma happened when we were kids,
Yeah, that's a good point.
because that stuff can be really deep,
It really can.
Yeah, it can shape how we see the whole world.
It's true. All of our early experiences can do that.
But therapy's not the only option.
Right, right. The book also mentions other things that can help.
Like
Things like art therapy or somatic practices.
somatic practices, what are those?
Basically, it's ways of healing that use your body,
Oh, interesting.
like yoga
Oh.
or dance or even just moving mindfully.
Right.
The idea is that trauma gets stuck in the body.
Okay.
So by moving your body,
You can release it.
yeah, you can let go of all that energy and tension.
So we're connecting our mind and body
Yeah,
to help them work together.
exactly. And that's really important for shadow work.
Okay.
It's not just about thinking about it, you have
Yeah.
to actually feel it.
Feel the emotions?
Yeah, let them move through you.
Okay.
That's what integration really means.
Okay. So we're looking into our past, using our bodies, and processing our emotions. What else is part of this integrating thing?
Well, the book talks about something they call compassionate integration.
Compassionate integration.
It's about learning to accept the parts of us that are in the shadow,
Okay.
not judging them.
That sounds so hard.
I know, right?
Like we try so hard to hide them.
Yeah.
Now we have to accept them.
It is a process, for sure, and it takes a lot of self-compassion.
Okay.
It's important to remember that the parts of us in the shadow aren't bad. They're just hurt, maybe,
Okay.
or misunderstood.
So they're just trying to protect us in their own way.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it.
So we can't be mad at ourselves for having those thoughts and feelings.
Right.
They're just parts of us that need some love too.
Exactly. It's about being kind to yourself instead of always criticizing yourself.
Okay. Self-acceptance.
Yeah, and that's what helps us change.
That reminds me of something we talked about before.
Oh, what's that?
The idea that the shadow can help us find our purpose.
Right.
It's kind of weird that the bad stuff can lead to good stuff.
It is kind of a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the book says that when we face our shadow, we find out what's really important to us, like our core values.
So it's like the shadow shows us who we really are.
I like that. It's about going deeper.
Deeper than the judgments and the fears.
Exactly. Connecting with who we are at our core.
Okay. That makes sense.
Good.
But how do we actually use that to, live a life with more purpose?
That's a good question.
It feels like there's a missing piece.
Well, that's where mindfulness comes in.
Mindfulness.
It's not enough to just realize things.
Right.
We have to be aware of what's happening right now in this moment.
So we can make better choices.
Exactly. Mindfulness helps us to pause
Okay.
before we react to things. So we can choose how to respond to those shadow parts of ourselves.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is. It gives you back control.
Okay, but that takes practice, right?
It does, but there are things you can do.
Like what?
Meditation is a great place to start.
Okay.
Even a few minutes every day can make a big difference.
What about when you're not meditating?
Well, even just paying attention to your breath during the day
Okay.
can help you stay present.
Mm,
So, yeah, it's not just about meditating.
it's a way of life.
Yeah, a way of being in the world.
Wow.
And the more you practice, the easier it becomes to notice those shadow patterns.
Okay.
And then you can choose how to react to them.
So I'm not just controlled by my habits.
Right.
This is giving me so much hope.
Good.
But what about those times when the shadow still trips us up?
It happens.
Yeah.
What about resilience?
Resilience. Yeah, how does that fit in?
Resilience is so important for shadow work.
Sure.
Because let's face it, the stuff can be hard.
Yeah.
It brings up all these feelings we don't want to deal with.
The old wounds.
Exactly.
But you're saying that facing those challenges actually makes us stronger.
It does. Every time you face a fear or deal with a difficult emotion
Yeah.
or choose to do something different,
Right.
you're building up your resilience.
So the more we do it, the stronger we get.
Exact.
So we can handle anything,
That's the goal.
even when the shadow tries to take over.
You got it.
This is all making so much sense.
I'm glad to hear that.
But I'm curious, what about other people?
Oh, good question.
Can we do all of this alone?
Well, the book actually talks about that.
Okay, what does it say?
It says that having other people who understand what you're going through
Yeah.
can make a huge difference.
It's like that saying, shared burdens are lighter.
Exactly.
Okay.
It helps to have someone who gets it. And it's not just about complaining.
Okay.
It's about connecting with others.
Who are on the same journey.
Yeah, people who are trying to figure themselves out, too.
That can give you support and keep you going.
Exactly.
So we could join a group, maybe?
That's one option.
Or find a therapist who knows about shadow work.
That's another good one.
Or even just talk to friends and family.
Right. As long as they're people you trust,
So we're creating a network,
a support system.
a safe place,
Yeah, a place where you can be yourself.
and share this journey.
Yeah.
And that helps us realize we're not alone.
Exactly. So many people are dealing with this.
It's easy to feel alone.
It is, but the truth is, everyone has a shadow.
That's a good point.
And the more we talk about
Yeah.
it, the more we can accept it.
As part of being human,
Right.
this has been such a helpful exploration.
I agree.
It feels like we've learned so much,
We have.
but I know there's always more.
There's always more to learn.
What are some of the main things you hope people listening take away from this deep dive?
Well, the most important thing is
Yeah.
the shadow isn't something to be afraid of.
Okay.
It's a part of us, and it can teach us a lot. If we can learn to understand our shadow and integrate it,
Yeah.
we can find out who we really are, what our purpose is, and be truly happy.
That's a great message.
It's an important one.
It's worth repeating.
Yeah.
We don't need to be scared of our shadow.
No, we don't.
It can actually make us stronger and wiser.
Exactly.
I love that.
Me too.
Be kind to yourself and just trust the process.
That's great advice.
We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be back to wrap things up. Welcome back to our deep dive. It's been pretty amazing learning about the shadow self.
It has been fascinating.
So enlightening, and honestly, it feels empowering.
Yeah, I agree.
What do you think?
The shadow is, a lot of people misunderstand it. You know, they're afraid of it.
Right.
But like we've been talking about, it can really help us grow.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the best part is, we've talked about how to work with it.
We have. We've given people some real tools.
Right. Like practical things we can actually do.
Mm-hmm.
Not about erasing it or anything,
No.
but using it, like integrating it, making
Yeah.
it a part of us.
Exactly.
So just to kind of recap,
Okay, yeah.
we started with, this idea that everyone has a shadow.
We all do.
It's not like something's wrong with us.
No, not at all.
It's just part of being human.
Part of the experience.
Right. And we saw how if we try to just ignore it,
Oh, it can cause so many problems.
yeah, it can really mess things up.
Self-sabotage, relationship issues, even make us feel sick.
It's like whatever you try to hide just gets bigger, right?
Mm-hmm. That's true.
But we can change that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Instead of being afraid of it, we can actually use it.
That's the key.
So that's what the shadow work is all about.
Mm-hmm.
I love all those tools we talked about.
Yeah, there are a lot of good ones.
Journaling,
That's a big one.
therapy, even like art and using our bodies.
Oh, yeah. Movement.
All these things can help us process what's going on in our shadow.
They can really help to make those hidden parts more clear.
Bring them into the light.
Exactly.
And from there, we can start to be kinder to ourselves,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, self-compassion is huge.
It's so important.
It's not about beating yourself up. It's about understanding.
Yeah. And accepting those parts of ourselves we don't like.
And that can be a big change for some people.
It's huge.
It's like becoming friends with the parts you've been hiding.
And you might actually be surprised by what you find there.
You might, who knows?
Right. It's like all that stuff we try to hide.
The messy stuff.
Yeah, actually has something to teach us.
It does. It can show us what really matters to us.
So it can help us find our purpose.
Yeah, it sounds strange, I know.
It does.
But it's like all those hard times that
Yeah.
can show us what's important.
And give us more passion, even inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the first thing someone should do if they want to start working with their shadow?
Well, the first thing is to just notice it.
Pay attention to what's happening inside,
Yeah, your thoughts, your feelings, your actions.
especially when those things feel really strong.
Right, like they're out of proportion to what's happening.
And notice any patterns.
The things that trigger you, the things that make you feel anxious.
Right.
Write those things down in a journal, see what comes up.
Journaling's so powerful.
It really is.
And don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it.
Yeah, if it feels like too much.
Right. A therapist can help you.
Yeah, especially if you've been through something traumatic.
It's like they can guide you through the tough stuff.
They can, and it's okay to ask for that.
So important.
And remember to be kind to yourself through all of this.
Yes. This isn't about being perfect.
No.
It's about understanding.
It's about growth.
And don't forget, you're not alone in this.
Never forget that.
Talk to your friends, your family, people you trust.
Sharing your journey can be really helpful.
They can. We're all in this together, really.
We are, and the more we talk about the shadow,
Yeah.
the more we can accept it.
As part of who we are.
And that makes the world a better place.
It does. Well, this has been an amazing deep dive into the shadow self.
I've really enjoyed.
It's given me a lot to think about, and I hope it's done the same for you.
Me too. So many important things to remember.
Remember, you don't have to be afraid of your shadow.
Embrace it.
Yeah, and in doing that, you can be your most authentic self.
Live your best life.
Connect with others on a deeper level.
And find your purpose.
Yes. Find your purpose. Until next time, keep diving deep.
See you then.